Storm.
Welcome back to P-Storm. We are playing Phoenix Wright Justice for All, and we're about to we're about to go into the second trial of episode 3. Find out once and for all who killed the Ringmaster.
Good morning, Max.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, sweeties. You don't seem like your usual sparkling self today. I'm always like this before I go in front of an audience. I'm working up to it.
Tee. Don't get nervous, Maxie. Here, have a glass of milk. Regina!
How fabulous! My sweetie pie princess. You came to watch my performance today?
Of course I did. Mo told me that I should come and watch this.
Mo said that?
So what kind of performance will you put on today? Let me guess, you'll fly at the end.
It's not that kind of show. Isn't that right, my sweeties?
Huh?
I think my sweetie pie princess doesn't... Yeah, she doesn't seem to realize what's going on. Or even where she is.
Well, Max, it looks like it's time to raise the curtain. I'll see you later. Today I'm just a member of the audience.
Fabulous. Enjoy yourself out there.
Good luck, Max. You're the best. Regina's different, don't you think, Nick?
Top of the morning to ya! Everybody, let's get ready to get stuck in legal limbo. How low can you go?
Mo.
Top of the morning to you, Governor!
Top of the morning.
That's the ticket. Attacking the day starts with energy in the morning. The early bird gets the worm, but then again, worms lack higher brain function. Here, Max, I brought you a present. Have some milk.
Oh my, thanks.
So how are you today, Wright?
Well, I've got the feeling that we're gonna face off against the real culprit.
You mean Acro?
Huh? You think he did it?
Be careful. He's used to putting his life on the line. Literally. He's got guts to spare.
All I've got to worry about is how thin the tightrope is. I'm used to it already. Just means that I won't be able to press him like I can with other witnesses.
What are you gonna do then, Nick?
I guess today we'll just have to do without our usual psychological warfare. Today we rely on evidence. It's the only way we'll get past Acro into the truth.
You're right, but it's gonna be tough.
Anyways, I want you to make sure that Regina sees it all today. It's important. Then she'll finally have to deal with the reality of what happened to her father.
You want us to make sure Regina watches?
Yes. That's why I brought her here to court today.
What's that supposed to mean?
She needs to know that when people die, they don't just become stars. I may be an old-fashioned clown, but I don't believe in people becoming stars. Court is now in session for the trial of Maximilian Galactica.
The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. The defense is ready, Your Honor.
Very well. Miss Von Karma, you may proceed with your case.
The prosecution would like to revise its previous theory of events.
What's the meaning of this?
We have discovered a new witness, or shall I say, a new eyewitness. One that saw Maximilian Galactica fly off from the scene of the crime.
Order! Order! I had a feeling something like this would come up.
Due to this revision, we are now prepared to explain how the defendant flew that night. An explanation the prosecution will present if the need so arises. In fact, my detectives stayed up all night creating a mock-up of the scene on my orders.
Poor Gumshoe. Very well. Please call your witness to the stand.
Time to get to work. Or shall I say, time to walk the courtroom tightrope. Phrasing.
Name and occupation.
Ken Dingling, but everyone calls me Acro. I'm employed as an acrobat at the Very Big Circus.
Where were you the night of the crime?
I was in my room that night.
If you look at the map, you will see the witness's room is near the crime scene.
My room's on the 3rd floor. The crime scene is below my window.
The night of the crime, the witness saw something quite shocking. Would you tell us what you witnessed?
Okay. It was just after 10 p.m. and I was resting in my bed. Around that time, I heard a large thump noise from outside the window. Then, a few moments later, I saw someone flying right by my window. It was Max Galactica. I only saw him from behind, but that's who it looked like. To be honest, when I saw that, I thought I was dreaming. This witness's testimony matches up exactly with that of the clown.
If that's the case, there's very little the prosecution need add. All that's left is to explain how the defendant disappeared into the skies at night.
Before we get that far, I'd like to cross-examine the witness.
A foolish choice by a foolish fool who wishes to feel the foolish sadness of a sad fool. A man must know the proper timing for things, Mr. Phoenix Wright. Just like your old friend, Mr. Miles Edgeworth did.
Mr. Wright, do you have a problem with this witness's testimony?
In the words of Miss Von Karma, may I quote yesterday's proceedings? There's no way that actually happened.
Very well. You may proceed with your cross-examination.
Alright, let's get him. I don't remember what evidence I need to use. Okay, it was just after 10 p.m. Heard a large thump. Saw someone flying. Okay, just to be sure. Alright, save. I don't think it's yet gotten to the point where pressing at all gets you, gets you penalized. You said that you were resting in bed. One would thus assume that you turned the lights off in your room, correct?
That's correct. But there are safety lights around outside the lodging house. It's so bright, sometimes it can make it hard to sleep. If that's the case, wouldn't it be a good idea to close some curtains? I never really thought of that. I guess that means I'm off to buy some curtains. Haha, sometimes I do make myself useful in these chambers. Ow!
The witness will proceed with his testimony.
Your room's on the 3rd floor, right?
Yes.
And you said you were resting in bed.
That's correct.
But you were still able to hear a sound from outside.
I was indeed.
Pressing acro doesn't seem to get it results. But maybe something was contradictory in what he said just now.
What's the matter, Mr. Wright?
Nothing, Your Honor. Until I can find a clear contradiction, I should tread lightly. Are you sure it was a human being? It could have been a mannequin, or perhaps a large action figure.
Well, setting aside the possibility of a mannequin, an action figure is plausible.
You have no need to mince words with Mr. Phoenix Wright. Testify to the truth and only the truth, just as if we was Just as if we were there with you that night.
I believe it was a human. Damn. I just strengthened his testimony.
Wonder if Acro's statement jives with the facts.
Yeah, it's...
See what he says about everything else before we, smack that one. The light in your room was turned off then, right?
That's true. I was going to bed after all.
So with the lights off, you were still able to clearly see a human fly by your window?
The safety lights lit things up enough for me to see. But honestly, there was only enough light for me to see the silhouette outside my window. It was the person's back, so I couldn't see the white roses in the front. Did you see any of the other symbols? I clearly saw the silk hat, as well as the cloak wrapped around his body. I'm convinced that the person I saw was Max Galactica.
The more I press him, the less results I seem to get. But maybe there was something fishy with his latest bit of testimony.
There was.
There's a huge contradiction with the testimony that was just given. If there's a contradiction, then prove it with evidence.
She's right. Let's see some evidence. Do you have any evidence to support your claim of a contradiction?
You claim to have seen the exact same thing Mo saw that night. Do you stand by that?
What do you mean?
The silk hat.
What about the silk hat? I saw it on Max's head as he flew by my window.
Well, you should have tried looking down out of your window that night.
That would have been quite difficult considering the state that I'm in. Just looking outside the window was a tough enough challenge for me.
That's a shame, cause you would have noticed the silk hat found on the scene.
That's the ringmaster's hat, right?
Afraid not. No matter how you look at it, this is Max's silk hat.
Where are you going with this, Mr. Wright? Are you saying that Max has 2 silk hats?
No. This is a handmade, one-of-a-kind model made only for Maximilian Galactica. Which means, Acro, that you've been fibbing on the stand.
Order! Order!
As always, it looks like someone just had to open their mouth before thinking. You okay, Nick?
Well, I opened my big mouth and now I have to back it up.
How about it, Mr. Wright? What would cause this witness to commit perjury in this court today?
Yeah, any one of these... Like, okay, these two are blatantly untrue. This is kind of a loaded statement, though. But we must proceed with the plot. Your Honor, on this occasion, the defense accuses Acro himself.
On this occasion?
Accuses Acro? What in the world are you accusing him of?
Obviously, we accuse him of the murder of Mr. Russell Berry.
Mr. Wright, are you serious?
Deadly serious, Your Honor.
I think your trips to the circus have served you well. You seem to have learned how to try and grab at an audience's heart and minds. Your Honor, don't allow yourself to be swayed by theatrics. Trying to wow the crowd with smoke and mirrors is the oldest bluff in the book.
Really?
If you don't believe me, just look at the witness. He's calm enough to almost be scary.
He is staying rather calm and collected.
Mr. Dingling, do you have any response to the defense's accusation? I don't really need to say a thing, do I? What do you mean? Everyone, take a good look at me. I can't even stand up by myself, let alone leave the lodging house. That's true.
I understand that Mr. Wright is just trying to help his client. But to do this by accusing me of a murder of all things...
See? Even a sliver of common sense makes it clear the accusation is ludicrous.
She's right. Way to pick on a disabled, you heartless, cruel man. Phoenix is a poopy head.
See that, Mr. Phoenix Wright? If you're trying to drum up support from the peanut gallery, that's how you do it. I think that's enough of this little game. I've got a doctor's note to confirm that Acro is unable to stand under his own power. Maybe the defense is planning on making a claim to counter this as well. I can hear the defense now. Acro had an accomplice.
What do you say about this, Mr. Wright? Did Acro have an accomplice?
Now then, this must be when we get to hear the name of the mystery accomplice.
Not this time, Von Karma.
What?
You're not going to sucker me into this one.
What are you blabbering about, Mr. Wright?
There was no accomplice. Acro planned and committed this murder all by himself.
Order! Order! What are you getting at?
Way to keep them on their toes, Nick.
Now I'm gonna have to prove how it all fits together. I have to show how Acro murdered Russell Berry.
Can you do it, Nick? Can you really do that?
I know what I can't do. I can't stop now. If I stop attacking, I'm doomed.
Alright, then let's do it! Mr. Phoenix Wright, if this witness is the killer, then his eyewitness account is all lies, right?
Mr. Wright, I'd like you to clear something up for me. When the crime was committed, exactly where was Mr. Dingling?
I mean, where else could he have been? He was obviously here the entire time.
That's Acro's room?
Pretty simple, huh? Acro wasn't able to leave the lodging house by himself. In that case, there can only be one correct answer. Acro didn't leave his room to kill the ringmaster.
What? Are you nuts?
What say you, Mr. Dingling?
It's an interesting theory. That's it? Considering that what you proposed is impossible, yes, that's it.
Mr. Wright.
Yes, Your Honor?
As the witness has stated, your assertion is impossible. As he is in a wheelchair, there's no way he could go to the scene or be the killer.
You got a point.
It seems you've forgotten once again, Mr. Phoenix Wright. The defendant was clearly spotted at the scene of the crime. That's true. Mo said that he saw Max, didn't he?
But Maya, it's still impossible for humans to fly. Do you mind if I ask a question, Mr. Wright?
What is it?
I understand some of your logic. However, how do you think that I killed him? If I can't leave my room, I obviously couldn't wear Max's costume.
How'd he do it?
That's the next course of this legal buffet.
Be careful, Nick. If you mess up here...
She's right. I can't mess up here. I've got to give this some serious thought. I'm sure that Acro killed the ringmaster. And he did it while he was in his room. No doubt about it.
Time to enlighten us as to how Mr. Dingling committed the crime, Mr. Wright.
Let's save. Yeah, I'd say we can't present evidence now.
I think we will finally be graced with an explanation.
Don't push it, Von Karma.
What?
You aren't gonna suck me in this time. I'm smart enough to know when I don't have the cards to play my... I'm smart enough to know when I don't have the cards to play, and my hand sucks right now. What do you mean, Mr. Wright?
He means that everything he's said up until now has all been nonsense. It's true, right? You can't establish proof of your murder theory, then it's nonsense. He's trying to fool us by playing some misdirection game.
Looks like this isn't gonna pass muster.
Nick, you've got to show them some evidence.
Easier said than done.
So what will it be, Mr. Wright?
I'm going to present some evidence.
So what did Mr. Dingling use to commit the crime of murder against Russell Berry?
Yeah, I think this is it.
What's that? A picture?
It is indeed. The problem is with the item that's shown in the picture.
The bust?
It's quite a large bust. And because it's life-sized, it's also very, very heavy. Heavy? Heavy enough to guarantee a certain death. Especially if it was dropped from a third-story window.
Ah!
See? This is how Acro was able to kill the Ringmaster. With the force of gravity and Maximilian Galactica's ample bust.
Order! Order! So you're saying the bust fell onto the Ringmaster?
Rather simple crime. Even if you were stuck in a wheelchair, it would be incredibly easy to commit.
How could you possibly wheel a wheelchair with something so heavy? It's impossible!
Well, Acro is an acrobat. He should have more than enough upper body strength to carry something like a bust.
Mr. Dingling, how do you respond to these charges?
Well,
Acro's at a loss for words.
he should be. He knows that I'm getting close to the truth. Well, 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 Acro. You can't run away from— Ow!
I'd watch what I say if I were you, Mr. Phoenix Wright.
What?
Your Honor, the physical health of the witness is material to this case. I demand that we get proper testimony from the witness himself.
Testimony, you say?
Mon Karma. She's just using this testimony as a rouse to stall for time. There's absolutely no need for such testimony.
The defense has its version of the murder. The prosecution has the right to respond.
The defense's objection is overruled.
Why can't he see things my way once in a while?
Mr. Dingling, I'm sorry, but we need you to testify about your physical condition. If you have any doubts about your ability to testify, we can request expert testimony.
The witness will have no problems. However, let's all be respectful toward him.
Thank you. That woman will sink to any low to win a case. I suppose I could have lifted something the size of that bust. I have a strong upper body from working as an acrobat, and only my legs were injured. However, lifting the bust and looking out the window would have been impossible. There's no way I could have exerted that kind of force on my lower body. That makes it impossible for me to have known the location of the Ringmaster's head. Thus, it would be unrealistic for me to drop the bust on him, don't you think? I have no doubts in regards to this witness's testimony. It was impossible for him to lift the bus and stick himself out far enough to look. Not to mention, he could not have known the location of the ringmaster's head. A single false step would have led to even more severe injuries.
That's what I was thinking. What is your opinion on this matter, Mr. Wright?
I'd still like to proceed with my cross-examination. He's simply stalling. It's shameful, Lil.
I can't let her get to me. I'm just gonna creep stick. I've gotta focus. I suppose I could have... God damn! I don't think so. I think it was possible.
Acro, you didn't really need to lean out the window, did you?
What are you driving at, Mr. Wright?
You already knew ahead of time where the ringmaster's head was going to be. Quite precisely, I may add. Your silly hinting at things is pointless, Mr. Phoenix Wright. Enough stalling. How about you show us some evidence?
But I did such a good job hinting. Yes. Hurry up and explain things, Mr. Wright.
Maybe you should take a look at this. The key point here is the wooden box.
The same wooden box that the victim was found hunched over?
The same. The question is, who placed the wooden box here? Who? When Ben and company saw the ringmaster, they didn't see him holding the box. Which means that this wooden box was already placed at the scene of the crime.
I have to admit that your theory makes a lot of sense.
The moment the bus came falling down was exactly the same moment that the ringmaster lifted up this wooden box. Which means that the answer to all these questions is now crystal clear.
You mean... If the bust were to fall upon the point marked out by the wooden box...
There'd be no way that it would miss the head of the victim. No!
Order! This is unbelievable.
Finally, some of these loose ends are starting to tie themselves up. Now I just gotta keep going. There's only one way to go from here. Forward.
So the next question I have is, who placed that wooden box on the scene?
It was Mr. Dingling, of course. He connected it to a rope, and then all he had to do was lower it down. Ow! Allow me to whisk some sense into you, Mr. Phoenix Wright. The ringmaster's head could have been anywhere when he lifted the box. That's why the box was so specially made. Specially made? Indeed. It had the most peculiar feature. The box was a remarkable size. Size? Exactly. I think you can tell from the picture that the wooden box was very large. To lift it up, one would have been required to squat.
Meaning that one would have had to take it up in both arms, right?
Moreover, the box is quite heavy. It weighs in the neighborhood of 20 pounds.
The box also has carrying handles on either side, doesn't it?
That's correct. To lift up the box, you'd have to squat down, which means that no matter who you are, your head would be in approximately the same place. Fool! Does he even bother to listen to me anymore?
I've heard what you've had to say. I must admit, I'm shocked at your imaginative skills. Did you do it? Did you place this wooden box in the plaza? Mr. Wright may have a vivid imagination, but I could never have done what he's proposing.
What?
Mr. Wright, do you recall the original location of Max's bust?
Of course I remember. It was on top of the table in the cafeteria.
Then what happened to it? I'd like you to remember one important fact, Mr. Wright. I cannot possibly leave the lodging house by myself.
That means...
You understand what I mean, don't you? I may very well have been able to drop the bust from my room. However, how could I have gotten the bust from the cafeteria to my room?
You see, Mr. Phoenix Wright? Explain that. Don't forget, you said there was no accomplice. Ah! Tell us exactly how the witness could have carried the bust from the cafeteria.
Yep, we definitely have a problem here. But this is no place to get perplexed. Gotta get my wits about me and prove how things happen once and for all.
Alright, Mr. Wright, let's hear your explanation. How did the witness get the bust from the cafeteria back to his room?
Money makes the world go round, baby. And it also makes busts go around.
A monkey?
Everyone knows money. He loves shiny objects of any size.
Oh, like when he stole the ventriloquist ring.
So, are you saying the witness had a monkey steal the bust? Of course he didn't order the monkey to steal it. The monkey stole it on his own and then brought it back home.
Home?
Money lives in Acro's room.
Acro's room?
But the bust was bronze, wasn't it? Bronze isn't all that shiny.
Maybe you should put the whip down sometimes and read the court record.
My, those are some very nice cards he's holding.
Yes, they're made of platinum, which is very shiny.
Wow!
Acro. Money's a strong monkey, right? It'd be easy for him to bring the bust back to your room.
If he wasn't able to handle that himself, I'd be on the market for a new roommate. Order! Order! I said order! Miss Von Karma! Where is the bust in question at this moment?
I don't know. They're searching for it as we speak.
This is a rather strange turn of events. But let's say that the monkey had not stolen the bust. What would have happened then?
Well, in that event, something else would have been used as the murder weapon.
Wait. Then you mean this bust was the murder weapon purely by accident?
It's possible. Maybe Acro saw Money's mountain of stolen goods and thought to use one of them. Anyways, I think we've more than proven one critical fact. Namely, that it was entirely possible that Acro was the murderer.
Moron!
Mr. Wright's argument was so circular, I'm still a bit dizzy. However, his argument does hold water. There's no denying that. Ow!
Don't be so flamboozled, especially by this fraud of an attorney.
Fraud?
You've forgotten the absolute most important thing, Mr. Phoenix Wright.
And what's that?
You should know. You forgot that your fraud of a magical client was spotted at the scene of the crime. Ah! There's no reason to doubt the clown's testimony.
That's true. How do you respond to that, Mr. Wright?
Nick, don't let her beat you now.
I won't. This is my chance to turn this trial around. When the murder occurred, there were two people at the scene of the crime. One was the victim, Russell Berry, and the other was the murderer himself. Answer this and only this, Mr. Phoenix Wright. Who was the murderer the clown saw?
It was the bust.
He saw Max's Ow! I asked who was the other person Moore saw on the scene. That evidence has nothing to do with this question. Au contraire, mon frère. It does indeed have something to do with the question. Moe said that he saw Max's silhouette. But he did not actually see the man himself. It wasn't a human being he saw.
How is that possible?
It's simple, really. What Moe actually saw that night was Max's bust. What are you talking about? Have you tried using your brain at all in this case? The silhouette he saw was wearing a cloak. There's no reason why you couldn't attach a cloak to the bust. It would be easy to hang one of the cards in the bust's hands. Or it'd be easy to hang off one of the cards in the bust's hands. Idiot, who in the right mind would put a cloak on the bust? It doesn't matter who put it on the bust.
Just wait a minute now, Mr. Phoenix Wright. Who put the cloak on the bust? That question is of the utmost importance to this case, don't you agree?
Oh, he caught me.
So let's have it, Mr. Wright. Who put the cloak on the bust?
That's a good fucking question. Oh, and I can't save either. See, I know the answer, because I've played this game like a bajillion times. Well, okay, I've actually played it twice. But, yeah, I know the answer, but I don't remember how to, like, present it. I guess we'll try presenting the bust again? I wonder, Mr. Phoenix Wright. Didn't the defendant wear his cloak the entire time he was at practice? So then how did this person get a hold of the cloak? Well... Furthermore, how would this person have gotten the cloak onto the bust, I wonder? Because this person was not spotted at the scene. I'm sorry. Alright, let's save, because I don't have a lot of health left. When she's so nice about telling me I'm wrong, it hurts even more. Ow! The famous Von Comma carrot and whip approach.
So let's have it, Mr. Wright. Who put the cloak on the bust?
Fool! Him?
You're saying it was the victim himself, Russell Berry?
That's what I'm saying. The victim himself placed the cloak on the bust? Placed the cloak isn't really the right way of putting it.
Then what would be the right way of putting it, Mr. Wright?
Explain yourself.
Nick, do you really have a handle on all this?
I'm fine, Maya. I'm finally putting all the pieces together. There's really only one picture I can paint anyways. Alright. So you want to know what happened that night? Let's step back in time. Acro used a rope to lower the wooden box onto the scene. Then he attached that rope to the bust, and dangled the bust out of his bedroom window directly above the wooden box. At the same time, the ringmaster told Max to wait in his room and went to the scene. Of course, at the time, the ringmaster was wearing Max's costume. Perhaps he didn't want anyone to recognize him that night. But just as he feared, he was spotted at the entrance of the lodging house by none other than a ventriloquist and his puppet, Ben and Trillo. When the ringmaster arrived at the scene, he bent over to lift the wooden box. And that's when Acro took his chance and released the rope. Now this is when the magic happens. At the very instant the bust hit the victim,
You wait just a second there, Mr. Phoenix Wright. As much as you try, as much as you scheme, this can't be true. It can't be.
It's still a little early to It's still a little early to be getting so upset, Miss Von Karma. This circus isn't over yet.
What?
The impact of the bust on the victim threw the cloak up, which snagged onto the bust. The impact also caused the sound a certain witness heard, prompting him to take a look. That witness was, of course, Lawrence Moe Curls the Clown. When Moe looked out his window, the cloak had already snagged onto the bust. Now, having completed the crime, Acro naturally went about pulling up the murder weapon. Of course, he had no idea that Moe saw the bust being raised with the cloak dangling on it. Primarily because in his wheelchair he couldn't see out of his window, so he just kept pulling the bust up. And that's how the magical murderer disappearing into the sky came to be. So you see, the only person who could have pulled this off is the person who was able to drop the murder weapon from above the crime scene. Acro, it could have only been you.
Acro's been playing mind games with all of us.
He sure has. But he's come to the end of his rope now. So? What now?
You've graced us with a rather long-winded tale. But do you have any evidence to prove that your fairy tale is true?
Evidence?
In this court, only two things matter: the power of evidence and the power of my whip.
Don't forget the power of my gavel as well. Mr. Wright, the prosecution brings up a good point. Can we see some evidence?
Nick, they say they want evidence.
I just explained how there can only be one possible murder method. But there is still something unusual about Moe's eyewitness account.
Unusual?
A contradiction, actually.
Okay then, use that and get out of this jam.
That's enough talking amongst yourselves. Proceed, Mr. Wright. Present some evidence to the court that backs your claims. I want hard proof that you have unraveled the trick to this magic case.
What? I don't know, honestly. Let me look this up. Yeah, I've looked at multiple walkthroughs and they've all said to present the silk hat, so I guess that's gonna be it. The problem is Max's three symbols. You know, the silk hat, the cloak, and the white roses.
Those symbols were a problem numerous times during yesterday's proceedings.
Yesterday there were two contradictions in Moe's testimony.
The silk hat was one, the white roses were the other.
But the theory I just presented explains all of these contradictions.
You fool, do you ever shut up?
Max's silk hat was found at the scene of the crime. However, remember what Mo said yesterday. He testified that the criminal he saw fleeing the scene was wearing a silk hat. There's only one explanation for that. The silk hat that Mo saw was actually the bus.
Makes sense. If you look at it that way, then he did see the silk hat. Well, sort of.
Fine, you've got fun, but what about the other contradiction?
The other contradiction?
Remember what that ventriloquist said in court? He said that he witnessed white roses on Max's chest that night. But the clown's testimony doesn't match. The clown says that there were no white roses. I'd like to see you try and explain that one away. Can you do it, Nick? Of course. I can explain all of it. What was that? Please recall the instant when the cloak snagged onto the bust. If the cloak snagged onto the bust, then what happened to the white roses? Do you get it yet? If the cloak got snagged onto the front of the bust, it means that the white roses would end up on the back of the bust. Ah! Which explains why Mo didn't see them. The white roses were not visible because they were on the back side of the bust.
Order! Order! This is quite the shocking state of affairs. Mr. Wright's theory still sounds a bit absurd to me. However, let's just keep going down this road for a while and see where it leads.
Let's do this, Nick. Then maybe Von Karma will finally throw in the towel. Well, so much for that theory.
Mr. Wright, do you mind?
What is it?
You took the time to research our circus, didn't you?
Well, yes, I did. Is there something making you think that I didn't?
If you did, then maybe you'll understand why I think you're off track.
Why's that? Motive? This witness feels an incredible debt of gratitude towards the ringmaster. Anyone with any relation to the circus is well aware of this. Thus, there's absolutely no way someone like this would kill the ringmaster. Your Honor, I'd like you to hear Akro's story. Learn about his relationship with the ringmaster and his life up until now.
What do we do? There's no doubt that Akro deeply respected the ringmaster.
Akro's motive.
It seems that this case isn't over yet. Very well. However, I feel this is a good place to take a break. I'll listen to the rest of Mr. Dingling's testimony after recess. This court will now take a 10-minute recess.
To be continued. Alright, well, we're getting very close to the end of this case, but if you enjoyed this video, then no further actions required on your part. We'll see you at the end of the trial.